Teacher Julian and welcome to another video tutorial lesson in English 6. In this episode, I'll be discussing with you the lesson on adjectives. And in my presentation, I'll be starting with the overview, the comparison of adjectives, and sequencing adjectives in a series. But please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell so that you're always updated with my videos. Adjectives in English 6 for the second quarter. So what do we mean by adjectives? Adjectives, these are words that we use to describe or denote the qualities of something. Like for example, in the adjective bountiful, as in bountiful flora. We also have 1 meter, as in 1 meter marathon. Adjectives have no common form, but they may be derived from other words using suffixes, such as from verbs, like in the verb care. If you will add it with the suffix "ful," you came up with an adjective careful, as in careful step. In the verb live plus the suffix able, you have the adjective livable, as in livable environment. You have the verb act plus the suffix ive or eve. You have the adjective active, as in active members. Many adjectives may be made up of 2 or more words, like hyphenated and unhyphenated. Examples: painstaking and fast-growing. Painstaking is unhyphenated adjective. Fast-growing is a hyphenated adjective. For example, if they are used in phrases, you have painstaking campaign and fast-growing vines. Other examples: easygoing citizen, well-fed animals, poorly maintained drainage, high-powered engine. When expressions referring to time, distance, and measurement are used as adjectives, they are transformed into compound adjectives. Note some changes. For example, if you are referring to time, a drive for 3 days, you came up with a compound adjective 3-day, as in a 3-day drive. When you are referring to distance, a lot of 200 square meters, you have a compound adjective 200 square meter, or a 200 square meter lot. An aircraft with 2 seats, when you are referring to measurement, you have a compound adjective 2-seater, as in a 2-seater aircraft. Adjectives may be attributive or predicative, depending on their positions in the sentence. When do we use attributive? Or when can we identify an attributive adjective? An attributive adjective comes before a noun. For example, like a victorious Olympian, Fidgety Hypon did all kinds of jumps and sprints. Our attributive adjective here is victorious, placed before the noun Olympian. What about a predicative adjective? A predicative adjective comes after a linking verb and other copular verbs such as seem, appear, and appeal. For example, the kingdom was majestic. Our linking verb here is was, followed by the adjective majestic. Regular and irregular adjectives and comparisons. First, we have regular adjectives. In regular adjectives, you have to note the following. Number 1, short adjectives for the comparative and superlative degrees, you added or you are adding er and est respectively. For example, in the positive form, you have the adjective short. In the comparative, you have to add er, shorter. And the superlative, you have to add est, so that becomes shortest. Other examples: large, larger, largest, thin, thinner, thinnest. Next, for regular adjectives with one or two syllables ending in Y, change Y to I first before adding ER or EST. For example, early is an adjective that ends with Y. Change Y to I, then add ER, that becomes earlier in the comparative form, then EST in the superlative form, that becomes earliest. Lively, livelier, liveliest. Salty, saltier, and saltiest. For regular adjectives, rule number 3. Most adjectives with two or more syllables, I emphasize, form the comparative by using more or less with the simple form of the adjective, and the superlative by using most or least with the simple form. Example, you have the positive form, genuine. Comparative, more genuine. Superlative, most genuine. Thankful, you have more thankful and most thankful in the superlative. Interesting, more interesting and most interesting. For irregular adjectives, note that they form their degrees of comparison differently. So we have bad, positive, comparative worse, and superlative worst. What else? We have good, better in the comparative. Superlative form is best. Ill, worse, and worst. Many, more, and most. Much, more, and most. Late, later, referring to time. Latter, when you are referring to the second person that you have mentioned. Latest, as in recency or the most recent. And last, as in the end, in the superlative form. We have far, farther, referring to distance. Further, referring to adding or more. Superlative, we have farthest and furthest. Take note also in the irregular adjectives form the degrees of comparison in a sentence. Like in the positive, you have the great American desert has little rainfall. You have the positive, little rainfall. In the comparative, you have the Sahara Desert has less rainfall than the Great American. So the desert, now we have two comparison, the Sahara and the Great American deserts. In the superlative, you have the Atacama Desert in Chile has the least rainfall of all the deserts in the world. So that is more than two comparisons in the superlative form. So positive is a little rainfall. You just merely describe the desert. Comparative with two comparisons, you have less rainfall. Superlative with more than two comparisons, you have least rainfall. We also have absolute adjectives. And what is this? Several adjectives do not form the degrees of comparison because of their absolute meaning, as in the following. You have absolute adjectives no, absolute, perfect, and entire. In phrases, no water, absolute health, perfect place, entire desert. And other list of absolute adjectives in English, we have eternal, single, complete, main, false, square, circular, favorite, immediate, supreme, triangular, final, round, true, whole, and sufficient. Remember that these are absolute adjectives with no degrees of comparison because they already have absolute or complete meaning. In sequencing attribute adjectives, remember that when two or more adjectives are used in the attributive position, meaning they follow the certain order, So determiner first. If you have adjectives in a series, you have to place first the determiner, followed by opinion, then size, next shape, condition, age, color, origin, then the last there is the noun modified. As an examples, you have a useful, large, elongated, rickety, old yellow wooden boat. You have determiner a, opinion useful, size large, shape elongated, condition is rickety, old, age, yellow, color, wooden, origin, and the noun boat. Another example, a dynamic, tall, young, white American ambassador. So notice that we don't have shape here and condition in the second example. So we have determiner a, dynamic, opinion, tall, size, young, age, white, color, American origin, and the noun ambassador. The ugly, big, round, chipped, ancient, blue Chinese jar. You have determiner the, ugly, opinion, big size, round shape, chipped condition, ancient age, blue color, Chinese is the origin, and the noun modified jar. So remember the correct sequence: determiner, opinion, size, shape, condition, age, color, origin, and then the noun. So thank you for watching. That is all for today, and see you on the next video tutorial.